What's up, everyone? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla, SPY, and a couple of other tickers. I want to break down the earnings that just came out for Tesla and Google, break down how things are looking so far and what you should be watching for on the charts going into tomorrow. But before I break the devil's information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a few things. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Take nothing I say as financial advice. And don't forget about the Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 in total. And the offer ends in just about 9 days from now. Anyways, right now, Tesla is sinking. It's down about 4% as of right now after they just released their EPS and revenue, and also some very important things for shareholders. So I will talk more about Tesla and Google in just a minute. But just remember, guys, that we're still waiting for the very important earnings calls for both Google and Tesla. And we're going to be looking for a big reaction once Elon Musk gives his speech, starts answering some questions, and gives us more insights on some very, very important stuff. So just so you guys know, when it comes to data for tomorrow, it's going to be very, very minor. Tomorrow is going to be Wednesday, July 24th, 2024. Just know that 15 minutes after the market opens tomorrow, we have the S&P Global Composite Manufacturing and Services PMI reports. This may cause some volatility, so watch for volatility at 9:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow, 15 minutes after the market opens. All the other data is very, very minor. There's not really much that's coming out besides just Bowman giving a speech. Everything else is quite minor. Now, that gives the market more leeway. For earnings, we just have Tesla and Alphabet / Google announcing their earnings, which is very, very important for tech and for the stock market. Just note that we're still waiting for Tesla's earnings call to start. I decided it would be better if I just release a video beforehand to give you guys insights on the markets. I think it's very important for me to do that so that I don't have to worry too much, because the earnings calls could go on for many hours, and my video would be very, very late at night if I were to release it. So I'm going to probably focus on something else for my later video. And for this one, I'm just going to talk about all the share prices. For tomorrow, don't forget, we have AT&T announcing earnings, and we also have Ford and IBM announcing earnings after the market closes. So get ready for all of this. As far as Tesla and Google go, just note that Tesla ended up missing on EPS. They had 52 cents per share, and the expectation was 61 cents. So we missed on that. We're actually dipping a bit, which is not the best of news. And then revenue is at $25.5 billion. That's actually a beat. That's above the expectation of 24.5 to 24.7, which was the expectations depending on where you're looking at. But basically, everyone was expecting below 25 billion, at least most people I was looking at. And that's why Tesla is still like, with these mixed reports, Tesla is still a little bit down. We did have some good news that came out about Tesla. I'll talk about that in just a minute. For Google / Alphabet's revenue is up 14%. They actually beat it by about 0.5 billion. So that's actually not bad. Revenue is up to about $84.7 billion. Operating margins are also up quite a bit at 32%. And EPS was a beat by 4 cents at $1.89. That's pretty good. Revenue is up for Google Cloud. Operating margins are up 11%. Not to mention YouTube ads are up 13%. So good stuff right now for Google. Google's doing well so far. For Tesla, one more thing worth mentioning is that Tesla's been announcing the fact that they have a lot of work to be doing globally. They're actually holding a lot more cash than before. I actually saw this in this report. Revenue is once again a beat, whereas EPS was a miss. Profitability is once again kind of slowing down a little bit, especially after what we just saw. We have $1.6 billion in operating income. Margins are up about 6.3%. But there are reduced sales for their vehicles, which is part of why we're starting to see margins shifting. And for cash, don't forget that they're actually holding about $30.7 billion in quarter-end cash equivalents, and investments. And they're also going to be seeing a lot more operating expenses to start expanding AI and working on a bunch of different things like that. It's also worth noting that they have long-term expansion plans, and things are going quite well for them, at least on that end. And I can't wait to see how things kind of develop moving forward. But for now, we're just going to focus on other factors. I have a summary here. I'm not going to focus too much on everything else because we just want to wait and see what happens during the earnings call. So I'm going to wait for that before I give you guys another update. So with that being said, just to remind you all, right now, I'm going to talk about Tesla, SPY, Nvidia, and the others, but then I might release one more video in the evening. I might do one more just to talk about how Tesla's earnings call went. I'll be very, very brief in that one. I don't really want to talk for too long about the markets, at least that late. So like I said before, the earnings call starts in about 30 to 40 minutes from now, maybe a little bit later, and it may go on for 2 to 3 hours. Sometimes it takes a long time depending on what Elon Musk says. So these calls could go on forever, especially when they have lots of very meticulous questions. So that's the reason why I think it's best for me to just talk about the share prices now. So as of right now, Tesla is dipping. It's actually currently barely holding 235, looking bearish. However, there's a big however. We have to wait and see what happens during the call and what Elon Musk has to say. So if it does dip more, that's fine. If Elon Musk announces things about robotics, AI, and such, then yes, Tesla could bounce. But for now, we are looking a little bit more bearish. So just be careful. And we'll see if we could get a big bounce or not. This depends on what Elon Musk says. For SPY, I am concerned. I am very, very concerned because the 30 minutes had this red line right here. As you guys can see, that's our 200 EMA. We have not been able to crack through this. We actually rejected. So this is a sign of weakness developing on SPY. We have not been able to break past 555.2. That's the level I've been calling out for quite some time. If we break 555.2 tomorrow, I could be looking for upside. But instead, this is resembling a head and shoulders. It looks to me like we might be coming down to this imbalance. So it's looking like it might actually dip instead. We got to reclaim 555.2 to turn bullish. If we fail to do so and we end up losing 553, I think we could be looking for 551.5. And if we lose the 551 area, I think we're easily filling the gap down to 548. Just wanted to call that out that SPY is looking kind of bearish. It's struggling, has head and shoulders, and it's not looking too good. This was just a counter trend dead cat bounce possibly. It might not last, guys. So just be careful. There might be some downside coming, especially with Tesla's earnings. So just be careful, and we'll have to give it some time. I also want to call out, let me talk about ES and SPX first before I talk about Nvidia. We have a similar setup on ES and has a head and shoulders like structure and has not been able to crack past 5620. Because it failed to do so, I'll be looking at basically the 5590 area. If that fails, we'll be looking for an even bigger dip. So just be very, very careful and very mindful of that. SPX is also kind of rejecting. We have a head and shoulders like structure. If we end up losing this key support at 55.50, we'll be dipping all the way down to the support at 55.30. Then we have this big gap to fill all the way down towards 5,500. So watch and see if that ends up being the case. This is looking a little bit more bearish, so just be very, very careful. For others out there, I just wanted to mention that Bitcoin is also on a bit of a downtrend right now. We have this resistance at 66,165. And then with this downtrend that's being respected, we could continue to fall. So I do see a risk of that. If we lose the support at 65,500, I see us dipping all the way down to 6,500 flat. That's where we have this previous resistance. It's looking more bearish, guys. Bitcoin is making lower highs and lower lows. This is not the best of signs for the markets. For Nvidia, like I said earlier, there's a possible head and shoulders like structure. I would have wanted to see this actually break past 124. If that had broken, we could have filled the gap up to 125. But we actually closed below that. We kind of rejected. So watch support now at 121.8. If we lose that, I could be looking for this gap fill down here on Nvidia. So just be very, very mindful of that. That's going to be our previous support right here. We could lose this on Nvidia, so it's not looking that great. And I think that there is a risk of us coming back down lower. If we end up losing the 121 area, we could be coming down to fill the gap to 118. We'll see, guys, but Nvidia is kind of concerning me. It's going to be heavily dictated by Tesla. It's a big partner with Tesla. So we'll see. NQ has a head and shoulders like structure as well. We had to break past 20,000 to turn bullish. If we fail to do so, watch support at 19,800. If that fails, we'll be coming all the way down towards, I would say, the 19,700 area, which is quite bearish in my personal opinion. For the QQQ, we have a head and shoulders like structure as well. Looking at 480 as key supports. If that fails, I'll be looking at 478. And if that fails, there's a big gap to fill all the way down here towards 475. So it's kind of struggling. I would have wanted to see it break past 485 to turn bullish. So far, we struggled. We're kind of rejecting. So I do see a risk of downside. This will be heavily dictated by Tesla and Google. So we'll just have to wait and see. But there is a risk of downside on the charts. I'm not too happy about Aapl. Look at how it's rejecting off this red line, the 200 EMA. We did fail to break it right here. That's one fail. That's two fails, three fails. Not the best of signs. Our support is going to be at 222. If that fails us, this could be dipping all the way down to 220. So it's not looking too good. We are range bound on Aapl, but there is a risk of downside looking at the current technicals. For Palantir, we're dipping a little bit. I'm going to be looking for a test of about 28.64. If that fails us, I'll be looking for 28.44. I do see a risk of downside, so just be careful, guys. Keep that as a warning and be very, very mindful of that. For Supermicro, we're kind of rejecting as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we end up dipping down to the 760s all over again, so watch for that very, very carefully. For Rivian is being heavily dictated by Tesla. It's down 1% thanks to Tesla. Watch 7.14. If that fails, let's look for 7. If that fails, 6.5 is coming. I see a risk of us dipping to at least 7.14, so be careful. It's looking a little bit more bearish to me off the bearish divergence. For SoFi, we're trading sideways right now. If we end up losing support at 7.35, we'll be dipping all the way down towards 7.1. We also happen to have this resistance at 7.6, but I do see this range that's very important and a risk of downside looking at the current technicals. So be careful with that. For the IWM, we have resistance at 224. If this rejects right here, we'll be dipping all the way down towards 220.8. If that fails, this will be dipping even lower. So I think that at the very least, we retest 222. We'll see if the IWM bounces or not. There might be a little retracement right here after this red bar. So look for a test of 222. If we bounce off this, we're going back up to 225. If we lose this, we'll be tipping back down to 220. As of right now, it's holding up decently, but just remember those levels. AMD is looking a little bit more bearish to me. The reason for that is because we're struggling to hold up right here. I see a risk of us coming down to fill this gap if we end up losing 153. So watch this gap down here towards 151. There is a risk of downside, so just be open-minded for that. For ARM, we're kind of shuffling right over here. We have a nice inverse head and shoulders like structure. I'll be looking for basically this imbalance to fill towards 177. If we lose support around 170, we'll be dipping all the way down towards 167.8. However, ARM has a nice inverse head and shoulders. There's more upside potential for this. Might be looking for 177 if it continues to push. I see potential in this nonetheless. For Coinbase, we look a little bit more bearish. It depends on if we can try to reclaim 260 or not. If we fail to reclaim 260, I see us tipping all the way down towards at least 253. If we break past 260, we could try to bounce. So look for a little bounce in the drop. That's actually very probable. For Amazon, we have a nice inverse head and shoulders like structure trying to push up towards 190. This high is at 190. We came down, made a lower high. We could continue to fall. We could actually slowly dip down to 185. So I do see a test coming, but we'll see if it bounces or not. But I do think Amazon might dip a little bit towards 185. And we'll see if we get a bounce or not off that. For Meta, we're kind of dipping a little bit. We have a bearish divergence and notice that it's struggling to break and hold above its 50 EMA. So I see a risk of us dipping right over here towards this imbalance around 480. So just be very careful on Meta. See if we get a bounce off that or not. We got the push we were talking about. I was talking about 495 coming. We came just short of that. Actually, we did reach it, only to reject. So we have to reclaim 488 to turn back up. If we fail to do so, it's going to likely dip in this technicals. These technicals show me a dip coming all the way back down to 480. Now, on the other hand, Microsoft is looking quite decent. It's kind of shuffling right here, getting kind of tight. Might shuffle. If we can break past 448, we turn bullish. If we lose 443, we turn bearish. It's going to react to Google. So just wait and see what it does. I'm going to be very, very patient with this. It could try to bounce back up to 448, but depends on Google's earnings. Google pumped only to dump back down. So it's kind of in the middle right now. It depends if we can hold 180. If this fails, I'll be looking for 178. If we hold up, we could be looking for a big push for 190 all over again. We're in the middle, so give this some time, guys. We're kind of stuck in the middle. I'm waiting for the call to start, so we will see. GameStop, it's trying to retest the 200 EMA at 25.86. We'll see if we get a rejection or not off this area, so just be very, very mindful of that and be very careful with it. For AMC is on a bit of a downtrend. We could be dipping all the way down towards the $5 area. If that fails us, I'll be looking for basically the 4.8 area. For DJT, there's a bit of a downtrend right here. We could actually be coming down to fill this gap. So I see this big gap over here. So there's a gap over here to fill all the way down towards 31. I do think DJT may fill that gap. For the VIX, it's trying to rebound. I'm not sure if this is going to rebound. We have to see if it could break past 15.04. If that breaks, this could actually lead to some downside in the markets. So just be very mindful of that and be very, very careful. For the 10-year Treasury yield, we're not really doing a whole lot. This may depend a lot on the Fed. We have Bowman giving a speech tomorrow, so that might affect us, but this looks like a head and shoulders. Might be a trap. We'll have to see. It's not really affecting the market as much, but I do have one big concern for the markets, guys. And this is what's starting to concern me. I was talking about this yesterday, where the dollar might dip and then bounce because the market may pump and then dump. And that's what's happening so far. So if you look at the dollar, we have a nice inverse head and shoulders. If the dollar breaks 104.5 and starts running, this could lead to downside in the markets. There's going to be a risk of that, in my opinion. So there is a risk of downside for the stock market if the dollar starts breaking out, and this may cause the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq to start sinking. So just be very, very careful. Going back to Tesla, I just want to say this, guys. We have to wait for the earnings call. Elon Musk is going to be talking about robotics, the robotaxi event, AI, and a bunch of different developments. This is going to cause a very, very big move. Whatever Elon Musk says is going to cause lots of volatility. So I'd rather wait and see what happens afterwards. I don't really want to stream this or do anything like that because I might not be here for the whole time. And then simultaneously, I just want to mention that the call is very, very long, could be kind of tedious. I would rather just write down the main points than just give you guys the main points later on. So I might release another video today in the evening to just kind of break down what happened during the earnings call. I want to do that just to give you guys more insights on how things are looking for Tesla and also the markets. And I also want to kind of check how Tesla and Google are looking, because if they both sell off pretty hard, the market might get a rejection. So just be very careful. But like I said before, I don't want to kind of bore you guys with all the meticulous details. I just want to kind of give you guys a summary on just how things are looking. And then I wanted to just focus on talking about SPY and the others like in this video, just to get it out of the way, just so that you guys have a nice reference video. But as of right now, okay, it's looking like Tesla and Google are about to sell off. It kind of looks like that. Not a guarantee. We'll have to see if Elon Musk hypes AI or not, if that could actually save Tesla at this point. If Elon Musk does not hype AI, or if it doesn't really affect Tesla enough, the share price could still continue to fall. So just be very, very careful. It's not the end of the world for Tesla, because when you zoom out and go on the 4-hour time frame, you'll notice that we basically pumped like crazy. It's been pumping quite a bit. Tesla was at 180 a share back in the end of June. Okay. 1 month ago, this thing was trading in the 180s. Okay. And now we went all the way up to about 270 and we're still at 235. So we're still up compared to where we were 1 month ago. If Tesla were to dip more, that's completely fine. There's nothing wrong with Tesla dipping. All I see is another buying opportunity for when this thing starts running into the trillions in market cap and for a lot more upside potential. So thank you, Tesla, for another buying opportunity. If you do start dipping lower, that's completely fine. And not financial advice, by the way. And just don't panic. You have to remember that when you're trying to day trade or do anything like that, your fear gets the best of you, and that could really affect your decision making. So don't let fear get the best of you. We look kind of bearish, especially on the 4-hour on Tesla. We have this very, very important support right here to be watching for. So I think this is the most important thing for the markets right now. So right here, this is our critical support, 232. Tesla better hold this. If we lose this, there's going to be a bigger rug pull coming. And if we get the rug pull, it's going to be fine. I mean, long term, we're fine for Tesla. Medium term is going to be fine. Short term is going to be bearish, and that may cause the market to slow down. I was talking about how the market, had potential to rebound off the inverse head and shoulders forming on SPY, but so far it's not really holding up too well. And this is actually looking like it might get a rejection. This could just be like a lower high. This is just a counter trend rally only to reject and continue lower. And that's not the best of signs. When you look at the daily on SPY, one last thing before I conclude the video. The daily is also looking kind of weak. So I'm a little bit concerned about this. We still have these gaps to fill below. So I'm not sure if we're going to be coming down to fill those gaps. But I just want to say that we have to be careful with big tech earnings. Earnings are one of the reasons why the market's been holding up as well as it's been. And with this rejection, this could lead to a big shift in the way things are moving. The small caps are leading the way up. Financials are holding up decently, but lots of big tech stocks are starting to slow down. And if earnings don't help the market rally more, that could cause a big shift. So just be very, very mindful of that. All right, guys. So that is my analysis for the markets. I just want to say that I really appreciate you guys so much for listening. I might release one more video much later today in the evening or nighttime for a lot of people, just to talk about Tesla's earnings call. And that's pretty much it for now for the rest of the day. So I have one more video possibly coming out for today, and then I'll be back tomorrow morning to break down what happens with data and such. So do what you have to do, guys, and I'll see you guys very soon on the next one. Thank you so much for listening again. I appreciate you guys. Get ready for Tesla's earnings call, and peace out.